We are diving into a universally horrifying mystery today. Why do our otherwise sweet, cuddly pets insist on leaving dead bodies right on the living room floor? Seriously, if you share your home with a cat, you've almost certainly been the lucky recipient of one of these special deliveries.
You know the exact feeling I'm talking about, right? That cold, deeply unsettling sensation of stepping on a dead mouse or maybe a bird at 5 in the morning. And you're just standing there half awake in the dark, honestly wondering if your cat is a tiny psychopath playing a twisted joke on you, or if they're just showing you a really weird, morbid kind of love. Well, as we're going to see, the answer is this fascinating mix of ancient biology and, frankly, some pretty hilarious feline logic.
Now, what's really interesting here is that this quote-unquote gift isn't romantic affection in the way we humans think of it. What you're actually looking at is essentially a crime scene, and it's one that reveals deeply wired feline biology. To figure out what's really going on, we have to look past the gore and understand how the perpetrator's brain actually operates.
So, let's look at the wiring of our suspect's brain. Section 1, the biology of the hunt, specifically looking at hunger versus instinct.
Okay, so a core truth about domestic cats is that hunger and hunting run on two totally radically different tracks. You've got the hunger circuit, which is driven by an empty stomach and the basic need for calories. But then you have the hunting circuit, and that's triggered instantly by small, fast movements, absolutely regardless of their appetite. So this literally means a well-fed house cat, totally full on premium kibble, will still hunt, because the urge to stalk and pounce is a completely separate, deeply embedded neurological reflex.
Animal behaviorists call this the hunting sequence. It's an ancient, hardwired program of stalking, freezing, chasing, pouncing, and grabbing. And this unerasable software program fires off whether they see a real mouse scurrying outside in the grass or just a little red laser dot moving across your living room wall. It's millions of years of evolutionary design that simply does not switch off just because they have a comfy memory foam bed.
Now, a really crucial point here is understanding what happens when they actually catch something. You've probably seen a cat batting a mouse around, and like most of us, assume they're just cruelly playing with it. But actually, they're using a highly cautious ancient strategy to tire out dangerous prey. Small rodents have really sharp incisors, and they can bite back and cause serious injury. So cats will repeatedly catch and release to safely exhaust the animal before they go in for that final kill bite.
All right, so we know why they kill, but why go through the extra work of dragging the carcass inside? Let's move to Section 2. Why bring it inside? We're looking at the motive behind the delivery.
Think about it like this. You and your cat are sharing physical space, but you're living on entirely different maps. To you, the house is this clean, soft, climate-controlled world. But to your cat, your house is the safest, most defensible core territory they have. It's far away from larger predators like foxes or hawks or dogs. When they make a kill out on the yard, they're exposed. So naturally, they bring this highly valuable prize back to the absolute safest place they know.
So let's break down exactly why that body ends up specifically on your nice rug. First off, as we just saw, they're seeking a safe fortress to consume their prey. Second, they're acting on a natural den or nesting instinct. Third, and this is super fascinating, they might actually be exhibiting maternal teaching behaviors. And finally, they might just be repeating a routine that was strongly reinforced by human reaction. Think about the very first time they did it. You probably gasped, jumped, maybe even yelled. Well, to a cat, any big dramatic reaction is just data that says, hey, this behavior gets a lot of attention.
Which brings us to Section 3, what it means for us, focusing on feline logic and interrogation. Yep, it's time to face the slightly bruising reality of how the tiny perpetrator actually views you.
Since your cat literally never sees you stalk and never sees you pounce, feline logic dictates a pretty harsh truth. You are a terrible, utterly helpless hunter. Just think about it from their perspective. You leave the house completely empty-handed, and you return with food in these crinkly bags. To them, you just do not possess the required survival skills, which means you desperately need their emergency support to stay alive.
And what's even wilder here is that the state of the prey tells you exactly how bad they think you are. Depending on whether the prey is dead or alive, you're either being tutored because your hunting report card is catastrophically bad, or you're simply being provisioned as a weak link. A live prey delivery? That means you're being treated as a kitten who desperately needs a remedial hunting lesson. A dead prey delivery? That means you're being treated as a completely helpless dependent who simply needs to be spoon-fed.
Look, getting groceries out of a canvas tote bag simply doesn't compute to a feline brain. But before you get too offended by their quiet judgment, remember this. The fact that they are expending real physical effort trying to help you survive proves that you are a deeply cherished member of their social unit. They do not provision strangers. They are treating you as family. So, what can we actually do about all this? Let's cover Section 4, Protecting Prey and Pets. It's time for an intervention.
Since we obviously can't just erase millions of years of instinct, how do we stop our floors from becoming a graveyard while also protecting the local wildlife? The single most important rule is never ever to shout at or punish your cat. You have to reframe your thinking from bad cat to instinct-driven animal, so quietly remove the prey when they aren't looking. Scolding just creates immense confusion over a deeply natural behavior that they genuinely believe is helpful and responsible.
Instead of punishing, you've got to safely redirect this urge by mimicking that entire hunt, catch, kill, eat cycle indoors. First, engage in some intense daily play with wand or feather toys. Second, and this is so critical, let the cat actually catch and kill the toy so their brain can complete that hunting sequence we talked about. And finally, offer a high-protein treat or use a puzzle feeder immediately after playtime to close the loop perfectly.
Now, for cats that do go outside, here's what you can do to make a real tangible difference. You can implement an indoor curfew during those highly vulnerable dawn and dusk hours. You can equip them with quick-release bell collars, avoid placing bird feeders low to the ground, or even build a secure, enclosed catio. By doing this, you actively shift your role. You go from being the helpless hunter your cat thinks you are to being a thoughtful environmental manager.
Ultimately, this whole phenomenon reveals a pretty quiet irony. We built our modern, perfectly sealed homes specifically to keep the wild outside. And then, we turned right around and invited a tiny predator in. We wanted the cuddles, the purrs, and the companionship. But we have to accept that the wild, completely untamed hunter was always part of the package deal. So, the next time you step out of bed and find a little quote-unquote gift on the rug, take a breath, knowing that they see you not as their master, but as a clumsy, overgrown kitten who desperately needs their help to survive. Ask yourself, are you truly ready to embrace the wildness living right there on your couch? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.